Democratic Voice, your community action program dedicated to bringing you the issues that impact America and concern Colorado. Brought to you every week at this time by the El Paso County Democratic Party, your voice in the future of Colorado Springs.
Good evening and welcome to the Democratic Voice. The opinions you hear today might not be those of the El Paso County Democratic Party or of your host, Fred Hardy. We would certainly invite you to not only tune into our program, but if you have comments that you would like to make, please drop us a line or give us a call. Our phone number will be coming up at the end of the program. It's drawing near election time, the most important election in Colorado history, as a matter of fact. Not only do we have a chance to have a governor that's going to be responsible to the people, but we also have a chance to have another United States Senator, which is going to give us control of the United States Senate or help us keep control of the United States Senate. It could be the difference of whether we're in a war for the whole of our future or where we're working for the people. So those are the important things. Now, when we're in the state Senate races, you know, but we hold on by just one seat. So it's most important that we get out and vote and do the things necessary to bring your neighbors, your friends, everyone out so we can get a majority in our Senate. We would like to take back the House in Colorado. We need to do all of those things for the people of Colorado, for the people of the United States of America. We're most fortunate this evening to have with us from the state Senate, Senator Bill Thiebaut. Thanks, Bill, for being here this evening. We're most glad to have you. Tell us a little about yourself, Bill.
Well, thank you, Fred. Thank you for this opportunity. And I'm sure this is a very valuable service to all the community members in the Colorado Springs area. I'm a Southern Coloradan, Fred. I grew up in Pueblo. My parents moved to Pueblo when I was about 7 years old, and so I went to elementary school and middle school. I went away to high school at Canyon City, and that's where I met my wife. And we married after high school graduation. We graduated in June, married in August. We went off to college, and about a year later we started our family, and we now have 15 wonderful children.
15?
15. 11 daughters, 4 sons. 10 of them are out of the house. They've all graduated from college or they're in college, and we have 5 little ones still at home. I've practiced law in Pueblo for almost 30 years, and I've been in the Senate for the last 9 years, the last 2 of which I've been the Senate Majority Leader.
Yes.
Prior to that, I was in the Colorado House for 7 years. So I feel as though I'm a seasoned veteran of the legislature. I've had my professional business experience in the law and raised a family, continue to raise a family. I love Southern Colorado. I came back here by choice, actually never left it. And we've enjoyed being a part of the Colorado Springs area as a family for a number of years.
Bill, I'm so proud of you and your family. Tell me a little, I know some of your family, school teachers, all kind of things.
Certainly.
They're supporting our state. They're doing so much for our communities. Tell me a little about your family there.
Well, one thing that my wife and I have tried to instill in our children is that you have to give more than you receive. And you have an obligation to give back to your communities and to people in general. 4 of my children are teachers.
Oh,
my oldest son is my campaign manager, and he's a teacher in Virginia. And he's come back to Colorado to help me with the campaign. He's also receiving a master's degree. He's also received 2 master's degrees, I should say, and he's studying for his PhD in education in the George Washington University program back in Washington, D.C. itself. I have 3 daughters who are teachers. One is in Austin, Texas. One teaches in the Denver area, and one is just moving back to Colorado from Oklahoma. She's taught in Illinois and South Carolina. Her husband is a graduate of the Air Force Academy. He graduated several years ago, and he's a pilot in the Air Force now. And he's stationed in Altus Air Force Base, but is coming back, as I say, with my daughter, and they're moving into the Castle Rock area. And hopefully he'll have employment in what he believes is the greatest profession of all, and that's flying an airplane. So he's interviewing with several airline companies, and they're very anxious to come back. But in general, I believe that my children have caught on to the fact that education is so important to all of us. To be an educated person, to be a person with knowledge, just helps you be a good citizen, and it helps you be able to raise a family and to be a productive member of your community. So my kids, so far, so good. The 5 that are at home, of course, they're in high school, middle school, and elementary school. And as all children, you know, they're anxious to get out of the house and move away and experience something new. But you know, Fred, what's funny about it all is they all come back home after a while. They realize how tough it is out there and how important family is and how beautiful Colorado is. And so they're all working their way back, and hopefully someday all of us will be here in Colorado together, living and enjoying each other. You know, being a candidate for lieutenant governor has been quite an honor for me. I was so proud that Raleigh Heath chose me to run. And one of the things that I think is important in his selection is that I am from southern Colorado. He did reach out and say it's important to have somebody outside the metro area balance this ticket and balance the kinds of things I'm talking about as far as our family. In fact, we invited him along to our southern Colorado bus tour. All the kids came back, all the grandkids, family, friends, and we took a tour just last week through southern Colorado and stopped at a number of little communities, towns, and cities throughout southern Colorado. And this is what we talked about, just about who we were, introducing our family to the voters, and hopefully it is something that will inspire people to allow us the opportunity to serve this state and to allow our family to interact with their families over the next 4 years.
Bill, I'm so proud of you and your family because you've taught, you know, it's like a dream family almost. I wouldn't say 15 was a dream, Bill, but the spirit your family has in reaching out to people and being of service, and you've done so many things in the House and the Senate, and now that you've decided to be a candidate for lieutenant governor, and you know, Raleigh, I'm very, very proud of Raleigh, and almost as much as I am of you, but I was the first chair in the state to endorse Raleigh in his campaign for governor, so I think that speaks out for how I feel about Raleigh and what he can do. I would like to talk with you about things that you have accomplished in the Senate and things that you are proud of that you can bring
Certainly.
up, and how this would carry over to what you and Raleigh can accomplish as governor and lieutenant governor of our state.
Well, certainly, Fred, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm very privileged to be the lieutenant governor candidate with Raleigh, and I accepted because Raleigh, to me, exemplified the things that I fought for over the years that I've been in the legislature, and it's just simply empowering people. People ask me, well, what does that mean, empowering people? It's really simple. Good educational opportunities, creating jobs that pay real livable wages, a good economy, good health care, access to quality, affordable health care, preserving our natural resources. Those are the kinds of things that Raleigh believes in, that I fought for. And in particular, when we talked earlier about my family and the value of education, I have fought hard over the 16 years for educational opportunities for all children and all people in Colorado, whether it's your elementary education, middle school education, high school education, or colleges, universities. You know, it's a broad spectrum of people who need the ability to function in society. And one of the things that I thought was really important was that Southern Colorado receive, for example, in the School Finance Act, its fair share of funds and its fair share of opportunities. And so when I fought for greater funding, I fought for districts like Whitefield. And when I fought for better improved conditions as far as the school house, roofs, facilities, and that type of thing, I dealt very closely with District 11 administrators. So the important thing that I think we have to remember is that empowering people, especially through educational opportunities, is the best way to make Colorado's future the greatest future we can offer our citizens. And Raleigh is right down the line with me on this, and that's why I'm so proud to be part of his team. And I think our message is a message for people, to empower people, to have good educational opportunities, and that just boosts the individual, Fred. It just gives everyone a chance to be contributing members of their family and of their community and good citizens in general. And if we were able to accomplish that the way that I know Raleigh and I envision that, then Colorado would be in better shape than it is now. We're really in a slump now, and that's unfortunate. This governor has really taken the best economy. He was handed the best economy that one could ever ask for, and now we're at a point, unfortunately, Fred, where I think we're going to lose a lot of jobs. We've lost thousands of jobs already, but we're going to lose many, many more, and people are going to be frustrated and not have that opportunity to better themselves. And we can do better than that in this state. This is a beautiful state. We have to work together to do that, though.
Yes, yes. You know, that I think is the paramount thing. It's on people's minds today. Many jobs have been lost, and they're thinking, is my job next? So I'm sure you and Raleigh have plans out to bring the jobs back into our economy, to jumpstart our economy where, you know, we had $5 checks and $10 checks to how much are we really in the hole? What is the hole now that we're talking about the deficit?
Well, we started with a surplus several years ago of about $1 billion or more, and now we're in a $1 billion shortfall. So
wow.
We've swung probably $2 billion to the negative, if you look at it that way. You know, the great thing about Raleigh Heath is that he is a business person. He has an extensive business background, both in large and moderate-sized corporate activity, and he really knows how to market this state, and he really knows how to bring an economy back to life here. We had a robust economy, and we just unfortunately let it slip away from us.
Yes.
The governor didn't help any this summer when he announced that Colorado was on fire. The tourism industry throughout this state has suffered immensely, and I just don't think that's the kind of leadership we need in this state. We need to make sure that we're very careful about how we market our state, what we say about our state, and that we bring the kind of tourism, for example, that this particular area, Colorado Springs, really relies on for its survival. The unfortunate thing about our budget is that we are a few weeks away from the election, and it was just revealed that we're nearly $400 million you know, in debt than we realized at first with some of the figures in the early part of our fiscal year. And I think the unfortunate thing is the governor is not saying to us how he's going to make cuts or what he's going to do in terms of planning to get around that. You know, people are going to start losing their jobs. I think they deserve to know what the governor has in mind. It is one thing, Fred, to lose your job. It's another thing to go to work on a Monday morning and lose it unsuspectingly with a pink slip. And we're sort of in that situation where there's no plan on the table. Everything seems to be a secret with this administration. And it's not just state jobs we're talking about. We're talking about the ripple effect and the downward spiral that we're facing. It can get into the private sector very easily. You know, when you have, for example, government contracts, whether it's road work or other facilities that are being built or other services that are being provided, if the budget is reduced or cut or what have you, those people suffer and everyone that works for them suffers. So this can get right into the heart of the private economy to the point where small business owners are going to suffer, and then employees of those small businesses are going to suffer. And if it keeps going deeper and deeper, even the large corporations are going to have difficulty, you know, coming out of this. And there's no sense for that. What we need to do is we need to be sure that we retain jobs and that we have people able to pay their taxes and make a contribution to their community. When they don't have their job, they obviously can't do that, and things get worse for everyone. And that's from, you know, your middle management person all the way down to the people that do such good work in the services that are provided for, you know, in our community. If a restaurant's not open, you're not going to have people operating the restaurant, you're not going to have cooks, and you're not going to have servers. because you're not going to have any business. And so we have to be real careful about how we approach these type of things. And with vision and with leadership and with planning, we can get it done. But unfortunately, this governor is working in secret, not telling us what his plans are, and has no plan on the table, as far as I can tell, to how to recover from all this. And that's unfortunate, Fred.
Most unfortunate. And I believe I read this morning where he said, yes, he was thinking about this, and he would let the people know the last of November. November happens to be after the election, so Colorado, we want to know what the plan is now. You know, when you're talking about, Bill, the ripple effect on jobs, yes, Economics 101 tells us for every time we pull a dollar out of the economy, that really adds up to $10 that we pulled out because of the ripple effect. Let's talk about something, you know, another thing dear to the heart of all the people in Colorado, white gold, water. So what do you and Raleigh propose to do about our water shortage besides pray for rain and hope it snows?
Well, I think that's the solution. If we could get some great snowfalls, I think that would probably solve all the problems that we have in that area. But I have to say, in prefacing that, people view this state as a place where they want to live, Fred. They love Colorado. They just really don't come here for jobs. They need their jobs. They need to work. And as we've talked about, it's so important to keep a family together. My daughter and my son-in-law are coming back to Colorado and settling in Castle Rock because they love it here, and our family is here. When you look at the kind of resources that this state has, of course water is at the top of the list. It is a liquid gold. And unfortunately, we're facing the worst drought that we have had in our history. There has to be some planning again, some way to deal with it other than the crisis management approach that this governor is undertaking. It seems like in all these areas, whether it was the fires or the water shortage or our economy, our shortfall in revenue, whatever, it's always crisis management. We need to have a vision, start looking ahead, 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30 years down the line. And it seems to me that with water, there has to be some understanding now that there is a tension and a competition in this state, western slope water and eastern slope needs, that has to be ironed out. We've got to get all these people at the table and figure out how we're going to solve this whole issue. We have situations now where in many parts of the state, communities are just literally drying up and they may not survive. A year or two from now, they may have to fold up and absolutely leave their communities because of the lack of water. In the San Luis Valley, it's a very important aspect of the agricultural community. So there has to be some planning for the future with all the participants in the field of water. But most important, Fred, I think we have to start realizing that we're going to have to conserve our water. We're going to have to start living a little bit differently in our urban areas and maybe not being able to water our lawns like we're accustomed to watering, and perhaps having some landscaping changes of life. Some people call it xeriscape, but you know, we have Kentucky bluegrass mostly, and it's really not meant for this area. We might have to be a little more natural in our ability to landscape our homes and to conserve water in many other ways. But overall, there needs to be a plan, and it needs to be now that we start planning, because the way I see the weather, we still have problems on the horizon. It's not predicted that it's going to be a very good snowfall this year, and I'm thinking about next spring and next summer, and then what happens if the water isn't there. So it's not too early to start planning, Fred. It's a very important issue, and we don't need to pit our communities against each other in the state and have water wars.
Yes.
We need to solve the problem at the table and make sure we're all able to benefit from our valued resource, and as limited as it might be, we have to understand that it's Colorado water, and we're all deserving of the water, and figure out a way to make sure all of us have it.
Great, Senator. I'm glad to hear you say that, because we have parts of El Paso County now have run out of water outside of the Colorado Springs limits. So some of those areas are now having to truck water in at this position. So I'm glad that you and Raleigh are working on a plan for that. Would you share just a moment? I know you've worked very hard on the growth issues in the state of Colorado. Could you share a little about that? Because that directly, to me, reflects on how much water we can have for consumption in these things.
Oh, certainly, yes. And we talk a lot about, when I said earlier, people love Colorado, that's why they're here, essentially. It's a quality of life issue, and quality of life really is all about growth. And so when you look at our state, you really have to understand that in some areas of the state, there is a need for growth. Well-balanced, economically sound, environmentally sound growth, and communities know exactly what they want in terms of growth, and they should have that ability to grow in that way. For example, in my hometown, Pueblo, we could really stand to use some additional growth. But I know our community wants certain kinds of growth. As I said, environmentally sound, economically sound. There are some parts of this state, along the I-70 West corridor, for example, that they're a little tired of the kind of growth they're receiving. And so they want to be sure to, deal with their growth issues in a certain way. Again, we should realize that all these different parts of our state are just as diverse as our geography, and that letting our communities decide what kind of growth pattern they prefer is okay. We shouldn't be passing a law necessarily that mandates something on the entire state, but we need to have some management and control of how we grow in our various regions. And water is a critical issue there because it drives all of the decisions that are being made in that way. So, if you go to the Denver metro area and you see a new housing development being built with 10,000 new houses, you have to wonder where are they going to get the water to take care of those 10,000 new families. And so we have to make sure that our policies, whether it's a water plan or whether it's a growth policy, fits that kind of a situation. So we do want to be sure that Colorado is open for anyone who wants to enjoy this beautiful state, but we have to be smart about how we grow. In 1974, Governor Lamb, then Representative Lamb, walked this state to be governor, and one of his issues, if not the issue that got him elected, was smart growth. And here we are, all these years later, same issue, and I think we can handle it the same way with a Democrat in the governor's office.
Yes, yes. While we're talking about, I would like to hear about Bill and Raleigh's plan for fixing the longest parking lot in the state of Colorado, I-25. So tell me about transportation. I'm sure you gentlemen have things you'd like to talk about on transportation.
Well, I think one of the unfortunate things about Bill Owens is that he has defined transportation as simply more roads in Denver. And we have forgotten the fact that there is a valuable lesson to be learned in transportation policy, that it's more than roads. Light rail, transit, air service, even bicycle paths in some areas of the state are very valuable for getting people and goods moved around. We've come to the point now, unfortunately, where we've mortgaged our future revenue for highways in this state because of the T-Rex project. We've borrowed future federal funds, and we have a tremendous debt to pay. It's just like having a credit card and overextending your credit and then having to pay monthly payments that are, outrageous, and you can't afford them. What we have to do is remember that transportation is more than just roads. We've got to take care of roads. Why can't we be taking care of roads in the rural areas of the state as well, in the outlying areas outside the metro area? Well, there's a lot of construction going on the interstate, but what about some of the other roads that connect with our city and county highways or roads? A lot of the roads that I'm traveling in the southern part of the state are full of potholes, and they're patched up, and the patchwork doesn't last very long. So if we're going to just look at transportation as roads, well then let's be sure we take care of all our roads, not just the roads in the Denver area. But if you look at transportation realistically, it should be more than just roads. It should be, as I say, Fred, the transit, the light rail, and air service, which is very important to this community and to my community in Pueblo and in southern Colorado. You know, our air service is just not what it used to be. It's very difficult for people to get for business or pleasure in varying parts of the state. So we can do better, and we need to understand that transportation has a broader definition than just more roads in Denver, as this governor wants us to believe.
Yes, I can believe that. And let's talk about just a little off that. When we're talking about roads, we have a Republican candidate for the Colorado Senate, and I'd like to bring up his record on roads here. He's been a county commissioner here, and when we complained about potholes and everything in the road, he voted to let's go back and plow those roads up that had been blacktop so there'd be dirt roads again. That's the answer to it.
Yeah.
So we really want to elect Ed Jones. You know that, don't you? That's the type of answer he has to transportation. So, you know, you have a sound plan with you and Raleigh, and we're very proud of that. So, you know, to say that if you had an overall focus on what you would like the people of El Paso County to know about you and Raleigh in about 2 minutes, could you tell us that?
Well, I think it's a continuation of what I have done in the service in my legislative years, the concept of empowering people. And I believe that most people really want just an opportunity to excel in their life and to be participating and contributing members of society. And unfortunately, in this administration, not all people have that opportunity. And so I think Raleigh and my candidacy offer people the chance to better themselves and to make life better for their families and their communities. It's a shame, Fred, and we haven't had a long time to talk about this, but it's a shame that people in this great state can't get health insurance. And there's an important plan in my mind to strengthen the insurance commissioner and strengthen the whole way in which insurance companies do business in this state so that everybody can have health insurance. Many people have a job but don't have health care.
Yes.
And then people, of course, that don't have work are hard-pressed to get health care. And people end up in the emergency rooms and other facilities, and it's a drain and a strain on our whole system. And it's immoral that we're not taking care of the health of our children and our elderly and others in our society. And that's one of the things that I think we offer people here in El Paso County, taking care of people.
Very well said, and I think it's one of those things that's most important, health care. So we've talked about economy, we've talked about health care, we've talked about white gold, we've talked about transportation. All I can say to you, El Paso County, is now to get these things done, Bill Thiebaut needs your help. If you'd like to help Bill, we will have his number coming up at the end, or you can call us here at the county, and you can volunteer. If you want to work in the governor's campaign, in the lieutenant governor's campaign, please give us a call. El Paso County, we're very glad you tuned in. Bill, I'm so glad you took your valuable time to come out and share with us. We invite you to tune in next Wednesday evening, same time, and if you have any questions or anything you'd like to talk about, please give me a call. Thank you and good evening.